with that out of the way, let's go right ahead and get into this second segment. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter second segment than most of the other ones, mainly because I want to spend a little bit more time on the recaps of the games that went down over the weekend, as well as the games that went down on Friday. Goodness, my English is just amazing this morning, isn't it? So, as you can see, this beautiful jersey retirement, this beautiful image of Vince Carter, half man, half amazing, Air Canada, whatever you want to call it. Vince Carter's jersey has officially been retired. This happened during a 23-minute halftime ceremony for Saturday's game against the Sacramento Kings. And he's the first ever Toronto Raptor to ever get his jersey retired. This is the first player in the entire franchise's history that has ever gotten their jersey retired, and very, very well deserved. I mean, he essentially, from what I know of him, because again, he's played a very long career. Like, he's one of the very few players that has played in 4 decades in the NBA, and in fact, he might be one of the only players that has played in 4 decades in the NBA. We're gonna have to see if LeBron can stay in the league up until 2030. But aside from that, he's had a very, very long career. And from what I know, he was sort of the big reason and putting Toronto Raptors and the franchise on the map. And, aside from Kawhi Leonard winning their first and only championship with the franchise, this is one of the players who I feel like deserves the jersey retirement for the Raptors, and he definitely deserves to be the first. I mean, I expected it to happen a little bit like a while ago. I didn't expect it to happen like, now. I feel like now was like, I'm better late than never is really what I'm trying to say. But like Vince Carter, he was a fantastic player on the Raptors. He ended up he was obviously, very happy with the whole situation, and being one of the first players to ever get his jersey retired. When the jersey goes up shortly, it's not just Carter 15 going up, it's all of us going up, Carter told his fans. The memories that have been created for 6 years, however you view it, go up tonight. I hope and pray we enjoy our jersey going up together forever. And he stepped onto the court. The home fans gave Carter a huge ovation, immediately bringing tears to Vince Carter's eyes. And he clenched his fists and he let out a primal scream in response to that reception. Like, he was incredibly emotional during this jersey retirement. Shortly after, a video played on the screen hanging above the court and included messages from DeMar, who currently plays for the Kings, Kyle Lowry, Scotty Barnes, Tristan Thompson, Steph Curry, and Glenn Grunwald, the executive who acquired Carter for the Raptors in the 1998 NBA draft. That's who Glenn Grunwald was. And Carter's ex-Raptors teammates, Charles Oakley, Doug Christie, Jerome Williams, Dee Brown, Kevin Willis, Muggsy Bogues, Antonio Davis, Alvin Williams, Morris Peterson, and T-Mac were in attendance. Raptors global brand ambassador Drake was also in the arena for the first time in 5 Raptors home games. Carter's wife, 2 daughters, son, mother, and stepfather, among other family members, also watched the ceremony from the floor. I have a feeling that one of those people in the stands and one of those people that I just mentioned, let's just say they not like us. But aside from that, while Carter's career lasted a league record 22 seasons and featured several high points after his departure from Toronto, his time in Canada produced the most memorable moments, including what is considered to be one of the best performances in the league's slam dunk contest at All-Star Weekend back in 2000, so before I was even born. And a lot of people, they consider Vince Carter to be the best dunker in the history of basketball. And that really says a lot, because there are a lot of high flyers in the NBA, in not just right now, but history. And even you can make an argument that there were even more high flyers back then than when Vince Carter played than there are now. And the fact that back then he was considered to be the best and still is considered to be the best dunker really, really says a lot about him. I mean, his vertical was insane. He jumped over a 7-footer in the Olympics just to get the dunk off, and that was probably unlike Ja Morant, who almost dunks the ball most of the time, this guy finishes his dunks almost every single time. It's amazing what this man was able to do. That's why he's called half man, half amazing. And even with players like Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, LeBron James, Zion, not even Zion, excuse me, that's my fantasy talking. Giannis Antetokounmpo and other dunkers, some other really cool dunkers. I need to think. Clyde Drexler, those kind of players, like a lot of people would consider to be some of the best dunkers that the league has ever seen, and Vince Carter still holds the reins as the best dunker in the history of the NBA. That really does say a lot when you can best Michael Jordan as being the best in a specific category that Michael Jordan excelled at. Like, for people to admit that he was the best dunker over somebody like Michael Jordan, who, might I remind you, dunked from the free throw line, really says a lot. And even like Aaron Gordon, who is arguably this league and this generation's best dunker. Unfortunately, he did not win a dunk contest. I think that was that dunk contest, like, that was incredibly unfair. There was at one point where Aaron Gordon like literally scored like 4 straight 50-point dunks. The voters in there were like incredibly generous apparently, and he still didn't end up winning, which is absolutely absurd. He dunked over Taco Fall as well and still couldn't end up winning, which does not make any sense, which ultimately led to him retiring from the dunk contest because he just feels that is completely unfair. But aside from that, as a Raptor, Vince Carter ended up winning Rookie of the Year in a lockout-shortened season in 1998 and 1999, that NBA season, and he was named an All-Star 5 times as a Toronto Raptor. He received the most votes from the fans for the event multiple times. Carter played 403 regular season games with 15 playoff games for the Raptors, leading them to the Eastern Conference semifinals in 2001, the furthest the team had advanced in the playoffs until 2016, and then all the way up until 2019 when they ultimately won the finals. Vince Carter's time in Toronto was a little bit complicated, which is why some people were still reluctant to give him the jersey retirement, because while it was, in a broad stance, pretty solid, it ended in a rather unfortunate manner. Now, I talked about this before, but in the final years with Vince Carter on the Raptors, he wanted out, and the team was reluctant to trade him. So Vince Carter, essentially what he did was he decided to force his hand. He ultimately did not play to the best of his ability in his final year with the Toronto Raptors, and that encouraged the Raptors to essentially trade him over to New Jersey. The second he stepped foot on New Jersey and the second he played for the Nets, it was as if nothing happened, and he was back to the same half-man, half-amazing player that he was. I mean, a lot of Toronto fans at that point, they did not really like him. I mean, and who can you really blame them? He essentially forced his hand to get out of the team by playing bad, which, is, I don't know how to explain it, but that's like really, that's just not cool, honestly. Like, that's really the best way that I could put it. And Carter's final 3+ seasons in Toronto were defined by injuries and disappointment, eventually leading to a trade to the New Jersey Nets in December. Shortly after the trade, Carter told TNT that he didn't always push himself as hard as he should have when he was in Toronto, and he was booed vigorously for nearly a decade before those boos turned into cheers as the club recognized him during his return with the Memphis Grizzlies during Toronto's 20th season. This is the Raptors' 30th season. So to be honest with you, this is what I wanted more than anything, Carter said of his formal reconnection with his first NBA team at the introduction of the refurbished court named after him last month. So, excuse me, this is sort of the respect, the undue respect that he feels like he deserved. That sort of explains, the primal scream in his retirement, because he finally earned the respect from the fans that he felt close with. So that's all that I really got to say. about this second segment and the jersey retirement. So now we're going to go ahead and go into a break, and then afterwards we're going to talk about the NBA games that went down on Friday, because there were a lot of them, as well as the games that ended up happening over the weekend. But that's going to be in the fourth segment, because I don't think we'll have enough time to fit all of that in one segment. So I'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.